Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Toonkind at 12 frames per second. I am Authorticity. I will be playing with TikTok Chicken, and I am joined by my lovely friend.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and I'll be playing Fantastic Mr. Fox. Fabulous Mr. Fox. This is how tired I am, you guys. This is how tired I am. Who's Fantastic Mr. Fox? They don't exist. That's like some distant cousin. Who is that? We're off to a great start, y'all.
The fantabulous Mr. Fox gets his mail from time to time, and they have to, put it back in the mailbox and just be like, guys.
Guys, come on. That fabulous Mr. Fox. Fantastic Mr. Fox lives on the other hill. Come on.
God,
We've been over this.
Just a general warning, we're both loopy as shit. It's been a freaking day.
It has.
You are going to get some top tier content tonight, my friends.
I think I've started laughing uncontrollably twice already today, and now I'm consuming caffeine, so it's gonna be real fun.
Caffeine? Is it? Well, no, you're way far worse than I am. It's not 9 o'clock for you.
No, it's not 9 o'clock. I have done that before, though.
Oh, man.
Bad idea. Don't do that.
God. All right.
Oh.
A+ start. So we find ourselves in the archival room of the Toontown Public Library. Like, there's the library proper, and then there's sort of a half basement sort of subsection where they keep, birth records, certain shipping records. Like, basically it's almost like a tiny little like research library. Like, it's not really like stuff that you bring out, but it's stuff that they keep for reference, but not like actual reference books, like public records.
Public records.
I don't know if all like libraries have these, but the one that I grew up going to every day did, and it was the coolest place in the entire world. So I'm just going to say that the Toontown Public Library does have one. And that is where we find our fabulous friend, Mr. Fox. What you up to, Mr. Fox?
Yeah, so Fox is doing a bit of research for the story he's working on right now. He is a newspaper man. He is a journalist, and he writes in his own column, and he's just, taking a trip to the library to do some general research on some history stuff. He likes to keep his facts straight, make sure he gets everything accurate, all that. So when he can, he likes to go to the library and go some more physicals. He's just kind of perusing along the records, looking for the one he's searching for.
God, he's a columnist. You didn't tell me he was a columnist.
He's a columnist. Yeah.
Elated, I tell you. But yeah, it's a nice day to be in the archival records. Like, it's beautiful weather. The sunlight sort of streaming that cool September, October golden glow through the windows set, very close to the ceiling, as basements sometimes have. And it sort of streaks down through the dust and the petrichor onto, the outdated carpet. And Mr. Fox, this is the drudgery of your work. Like, this is probably the most boring part. I imagine, like, it's, looking up like stuff like specific dates so that the editor doesn't make you do an entire rewrite because you said that someone died in 1967 when actually they died in 1960.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is actual like what columnists do, because editors go hardcore in making sure that people fact check. And if you don't do some of it yourself, you're going to slow the whole process up like big time.
Yeah, people aren't gonna like you. And he wants to be liked. That's kind of his whole thing. So as much as he would rather be out in the fields, writing and listening to his walk sonic, he is down here. And he tries to tell himself, guess it's not that bad. But no, it is. He does.
Mm.
Yeah, but you know, it's for the journalism. It's for the column. It's all for the good of the story.
God, I'm dying because I actually really like that part. Um. Anyway, um, could Mr. Fox, would you please roll me a perception check?
Yes, I can. $16.
Where? Oh wait, I haven't scrolled up it like big time. Oh, 16. Okay. Um. So your attention is shaken out of the particular folder that you're going through by a sound that can only be described as a very ominous shuffling noises. Like it's sort of the sort of noise that only happens after absolute silence. The sort of noise that only happens when there should be no noise.
And to his knowledge, no one else is down here. So he is very on edge. He just,
Mm-hmm.
his ear twitches a bit, and he kind of leans back, tries to look down the aisle, gets a little nervous.
From the sound of it, it appears to be coming from one of the aisles further to the back. I will say from the opposite end of the room from the door, meaning that whatever's down there probably passed him and he didn't know it.
Oh, he doesn't like that. he does not like that because he relies on his senses to get him around. So he's not even gonna bother like putting away what he's doing. He's just gonna be as quiet as possible because if anything, he doesn't know. He wants to believe that it's just another tune, but to sneak past him and then to just be somewhere in the back shuffling, he's got a bad feeling about this. He doesn't. He's real nervous, and so not that I'll ever tell you that. So,
Gosh.
he is gonna try to sneak over to the noise without making himself known. So I guess that would just be
That would be a stealth. And I'm going to roll perception with disadvantage.
That is a 20. So
that's a dirty 20.
A dirty 20,
right.
I should mention, but yes.
All right, so my perception is that's pretty good.
Where are you rolling? Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you'd already rolled. I was like, where was it?
Okay, and that's a disadvantage.
Oh
man. All right, we're going with that 11. Whatever it is does not see you. However, as you go farther down the aisles, what comes into view as you round the corner is a familiar little black hen with cartoon angry eyebrows who actually doesn't you don't have to roll for this. I'll give you this for free. They don't look so great. Honestly, they look like they've been in a fight and like probably mostly lost. Like their feathers are ruffled. They're moving a little bit slower. Their wing is being held at a funny angle, like it's hurting them. 1 second.
It was just the Foley. Cat Foley.
that would be our special guest star, my cat, who is now gone. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got that sort of they're on day 3 of a hard luck streak. And they are, they're just sort of going through one of the files the same as you were. They seem to be looking at, it looks like an old ship's register, like the guests and things. And they are squinting at the old-fashioned cursive, like it's personally hurt their little brother. Like they don't look happy.
Oh no. Well, I think first off, because Fox is the way he is he he is not going to think about, oh, let's not startle this sad chicken, and he's just immediately going to be like, oh, TOC, my old feathered friend, right out of the blue.
All right. Let's see. That would be wisdom
Sorry.
saving throw at disadvantage. Okay, that's
Okay.
a 14. That's still pretty great. TUC jumps a foot in the air and they look like visibly like not okay for a second, but they very quickly recover. And they whirl around, and for a second you think you're gonna get punched, but instead they sign, Mr. Fox. What a pleasure.
um, Fox just bends over a little and just, oh, it's been a while. What brings you down here?
They look at the ship's register, which they definitely dropped on one of their feet. And they pick it up and they show it to you. It's just a passenger vessel that went through Toontown Harbor, maybe a couple decades ago. And they just sort of they just sort of give it sort of this sort of disappointed look and put it back on the shelf. And they sign, not anything that I think will come to fruition today. What about you? This seems like I wouldn't have expected to see you in a place like this.
Fox kind of looks a little. He almost looks a little embarrassed at first, like he doesn't want to be seen down here just doing boring research. But
Should I
he.
roll an insight check to see if they get that?
Yeah, actually, if you want to do that, that would be good.
All right.
It only lasts for a second, so yeah. Definitely got it. Oh,
That's a
yes.
22.
That's a 22. They most definitely can notice that.
All right. They're just going to file that away.
Yep. It only lasts for a second because then he realizes that, oh, this is an opportunity to speak about my work more, at least a little bit. Huh. So he quickly brightens up again and just, well, I was doing a bit of research for my column this week. As I believe I've mentioned before, I am a newspaperman myself.
They actually look a little bit surprised. They don't think that you've mentioned this before. And they actually look interested. They sign, what's the column about? One moment, I promise I'm still listening.
You're fine. I'll just wait. Sip some water while I'm at it. Water good.
Okay. Apparently my cat doesn't want to come in, he just wants to yell.
We love it when Kimties do that. I completely
I'm
blanked.
sorry, you were saying?
Uh,
They had just asked what the column was about.
right, yes. He goes, just, uh, nothing special, really. Quite boring, if you ask me. Do you really want me to tell you? I would take up time, I don't think. He's just stalling.
Yeah, and they're sort of giving him this look like he's saying things that just don't make sense. Like it's like I mean, you can roll an insight check if you want, but like they're just sort of like almost like he's saying non sequiturs. Like
Oh,
it's just like honest confusion.
that's a
A 17.
17. Yeah.
Yeah, they were completely legitimate in their excitement to hear what your column is, and they don't know why you're having and hawing over it.
um, he he stutters for a little bit longer before he goes, um, just some research about certain types of crops growing in certain areas and the history of that. It's a lot more exciting than it sounds, I assure you.
TOC brightens, and they hold on. Let's see. That would be 1d10. They do a magician's flourish with their wing, and they pull out of thin air, out of their hairspace. Um, they pull out a little bundle of kale, and they like undo the strings with their beak and like fan them out. And he can see that it's different, like different varieties. Like there's some rainbow kale. There's the kind that's got the little curlies. There's like um a very dark purplish shade. Um, and they say, I can actually, they sign with the wing that's not holding the kale. I can actually help you with that. These were, um, these were some of the varieties on the farm that I used to be on. These I grew myself, but they're very old. They're some of the traditional varieties in Inkwell. And they look very excited to tell you about their kale. Like
um,
this, congratulations, you have uncovered one of TOC's special interests.
achievement unlocked. um, Fox's ears actually perk up, and he's surprised by this. Like, he wasn't expecting someone to take an interest in what to him seems like one of the most boring topics that he could have been writing about this week. Like, ugh, really, crops, really? Can I talk about something more exciting? Is there anything going on, please? um, so he actually smiles a little, and he goes, "Oh, you fancy I run into you then? Huh? I didn't know you worked on a farm."
They sort of they actually they hand you the kale and sort of shuffle their wings and say, I that was a farm was where I originated. Now I just have a little rooftop garden. Actually, hold on. And then they do the magician's flourish again. All right.
Okay.
And they pull out a little basket that's full of more kale. And also it looks like some chards, some carrots, a lot of like little baby tomatoes. And they hand it to you and they say, here's some other old varieties. They're also very tasty, and I planted way too many. So you can bring these home and have a salad tonight.
He Fox doesn't know what to do. He's like really shocked at the outcome of this. This is not at all what he was expecting this conversation to go, and like really like heartwarmed because last time him and TOC interacted, they pulled a pecking heist together, and like went through some stuff. Uh, and now here they are in the basement of a library sharing crops. So
Mm.
he's like he just humbly accepts it, and it's like, that I don't even know what to say. That is incredibly generous of you. I I'll should be sure to make this for my family tonight. Are you sure that I can take this?
They're sort of just like almost not quite not paying attention to him, just sort of rambling about like it's been so rainy lately, the tomatoes have been doing really well, but that means everything else needs watering. And like they sort of like mid ramble, they're just like, no, you're doing me a favor. It's only me and my roommate really. It's the more people take my vegetables, the less, I have to pickle into sauerkrauts. Like it's you're really like if you want another basket, like I will not run out of vegetables. There are so many vegetables in my house.
He actually does a little snicker. He goes, all right, all right. And he puts him back into his hammer space, which I should mention, I don't know if this would have meant anything to TOC, but he's now back in his typical, more formal wear, in contrast to the vacation where he was dressed in last time. So he does stick it in his pocket, but
Hmm.
yeah. Uh,
I'll take note of that. I don't think they're the sort to like really comment on it, but like
yeah, but it's a thing.
it's probably more akin to the clothes that they remember people wearing from when they were young.
Hmm. Gosh, I don't even know how old TOC is. Guess we'll have to find out.
Listen.
um,
But they sort of like look around the aisle just to make sure that they haven't like left any of their stuff around. And they say, well, I might be interested to hear what you come up with. I'll definitely be looking at for your column. What paper do you write for?
oh, just the Gazette. It's a small town paper. You probably haven't heard of it.
Hmm. They actually, because they are in an archive room, would the Gazette have any like old editions um in the the Toontown Public Library?
Oh, um, it's possible. I think. Uh,
Could I roll for it?
yeah, yeah. Might as well. That's a good way to do it. We
All
are
right, let's
playing
see.
D&D. We have dice. The dice can
Might
make our
as well.
decisions for us. Yeah, the
What?
Gazette's a very
Let's see.
small newspaper, just a town. Hmm?
I'm trying to decide which role it is.
Mm, just to see if they would have one, or like to see if you could find one.
Honestly, like I feel like probably to see if they can find one. It's I'd love to be able to figure out a way to make it survival, but honestly, I think that's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe more like investigation?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it
All
could
right,
be perception if that's better.
I
But
will take perception. Their investigation is a -1.
oh yeah, let's not do that.
A 10. All right.
A 10.
They sort of they pace back over to the G's and they sort of look through Gazette. It's um and they sort of they peer at um one thing, stop and look extremely frustrated. Uh you can roll insight on that if you like, but I think that what they just do is they ask, would any of your articles be here?
I got a
Oh,
15 on
that's a
that
big deal.
insight, by the way.
Hmm. I don't know if Fox would get why they're frustrated, but they definitely got more frustrated when they tried to read something.
Interesting. Interesting. Um,
Mm.
he kind of comes a little bit closer and he goes, "Oh, possibly. I wasn't really thinking about that." And he kind of gestures for TOC to move over so he can flip through himself. I have some
Yeah, they will.
great lore in store if we can get this to work. I did not mean
I
for
will
that to
say, by
rhyme.
the way, that Fox is being a very good sport about this. If
Yeah.
someone was trying to read one of my stories in front of me, I would take it on advantage. Like
Okay.
it's he knows what he's looking for.
Yeah, that was a nat one for those listening.
But if someone tried to read an article that I wrote in front of me, I think I'd jump out the window.
Yeah, valid. Fox has a big ego, though.
Let's say a 15 makes it.
15. Okay, great. Yeah, he fumbles about a bit, and then he goes to like the next like spot over. You know how sometimes they roll over. It's like the first one. It just happened to be like right at the split.
Ooh.
And he pulls out one of the editions, and his ears drop. He looks delighted to have found it, and then his expression just falls.
Mm. Do you think I should roll insight, or do you think that TOC's excitement to get to read something that their friend wrote would override that?
Um, I think that you might have to leave that up to the die.
You know, I'm gonna roll a d2.
Yeah, do that because he's just. Did you determine?
Well,
Yep.
2 was the bad thing. They are grabby hands. They are excited.
Well, good because he's just like silent, staring at it, and so he's a little too much in shock to actually do anything about that. So just yes, you have this newspaper now.
I
I'm gonna.
think that instead of like taking it out of their hands, they'll actually flutter up on Mr. Fox's shoulder.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable. I love that. He does that actually brings him out of his initial like trance for a second as he's staring at this newspaper. But so he's like, oh, there's a chicken on my shoulder now. And he kind of holds it up for you to see and just, I did find this one. And I'm gonna say it's pretty obvious what the headline is because
Yeah.
in big letters on the very front with a picture are 3 real kind farmers moving to Great Heronsford and are driving out local business.
Hmm.
And there's a picture
Could
of
they roll
three really kind.
history?
Yes, they can.
Oh boy. This will be extremely fun. Oh, 90. That's a nat 20.
That's a nat 20. Oh, okay.
Listen, they come from, farmlands. They are a gardener. Like maybe like it might even be that like New Heronsford isn't that far from the bog.
Yeah, this is very
Um
true.
so can you explain to me exactly what TOC knows from this?
Yes. So I'm going to say that this was definitely also in just farming news in general. TOC, if it was in the farming loop, they probably heard about this. What TOC knows is that Great Heronsford is kind of a smaller town, and it's mostly populated by Toonkind, and they're just a lot of them are house and animals, but there's a good mix in there, and it's a farming town. There's a lot of farmland. The actual like downtown area is fairly small, but a few years ago there were 3 real kind farmers that moved in and settled into the town and bought out a lot of the land and kind of industrialized it. They kind of took on the market for themselves and drove a lot of the local farm families out of business. And it was kind of this big thing in that, that little part of the world. It was kind of a big thing for them because they were such a small, quiet, nice town that all of a sudden these big, mean men moved in and were purposefully, I should mention, trying to take advantage of the situation that was there before. And they aren't particularly nice to Toonkind. In fact, they were exporting most of their goods back to Fruma, and charging more for the import for the locals than for the exported goods back to the mainland. So it was kind of a big thing that a lot of these farmers and these farms had to sell their farm and move somewhere else and try to find another place of business. I'm not sure if TOC knows the details of how that ended up getting resolved.
With a nat 20.
Because with a nat 20.
And I will say they wouldn't have been able to hear about this as it was unfolding. They would have heard about this after the fact.
Yeah. So I would say from that, because you got a nat 20, I'm going to say that TOC knows that what ended up happening was that a lot of the local Toons fought back. There was kind of this dispute that happened, and there was a big heist involved, and there was a lot of publicity in the area, and just a lot happened. But they ended up annoying the farmers so much that the 3 farmers, the 3 Rearkind farmers, moved out. They fled the town, and promised to never come back. But it was the Toons that had revolutionized against them, and then they were able to take back their town essentially. Now say that's all the details I know.
Yeah, TOC sort of takes a minute to just sort of like process that. And then they think about the fact that it was really a heist that drove these farmers out of there. And they kind of look at Mr. Fox. There's a chicken looking at you, Mr. Fox.
Yeah. His expression right now is a combination of like, well, you know this now, or maybe you already did, and also like, yeah, this is connected to me now, and you know that. And he's kind of just like this weird half smile grimace. And he just, did you know about this?
They they sort of like so with one of their wings, and they actually flutter off so that they can actually be like conversational instead of just like squished up against each other. And they sign. We could say indisposed when all of this was unfolding, but it's not the sort of thing that goes unnoticed. I'm sure you know. You didn't say you were a revolutionary.
Fox, he looks a little flattered from that. He's like, well, and he just, I suppose I'm not the type of Toon to sit around and let others control the economy and anyone's lives, really. And they were more than just farmers. So something had to be
Mm.
done.
They sign sometimes farmers need to be kept in check. And they look sort of unnecessarily grim when they say that. And sort of fluff up their feathers a little bit. Um
Um, I think Fox like actually like kind of hands the newspaper. He flips it over and to his column, and he hands it over and points at it with his other hand and just uh that's my little write up on it if you care to read, but you don't have to do that at the moment. But feel
they they are grabby hands and reading it right there and then. Or actually, they tried to, and then they stop and they like blink at it, and then they look just so frustrated.
can I make an insight on that?
Yes, you may.
15 again.
Compounded with the first 15, because again, it's them trying to read something and then looking,
Mm-hmm.
stymied. Like, it's. Can this chicken not read? They're certainly acting like they were reading. They were
Yeah.
trying to read earlier.
What are they doing in a
They keep
library?
trying to read. So, yeah, they're in a library. Like, it seems, positively, highly unlikely that this chicken doesn't know how to read, especially because I'm pretty sure they've done it in front of him before,
Mm-hmm.
but they're having a hell of a time with it now.
A fox tilts his head, and just, do you, are you able to read common?
They sort of look up, startled, and they've been seen, they've been perceived. They start to sign something, and then they stop, and they kind of sigh, and then they'll sort of explain it. It's part of me being myself. On days, some days it's more difficult than others. And some days I can read just fine, and others I can't read at all. And sometimes it gets so bad I can't even understand speech. But it's I'm sure it'll come back in a few days.
Fox Fox is like trying to resist. Like, again, I don't know how old TOC is, but he's trying to resist going like dad mode and being like, "Let me help you read this." Like, I'm so sorry. Let me protect. Um, um, but
They do actually quite like being read to. They
aw,
I like he can roll like I guess either insight or perception to see if he can figure out how old the chicken is.
oh yeah, that is a good. Mm, mm, can I say investigate? I technically better at perception, but I feel like it might be more fitting for investigation. Because investigation is when you like are looking at something specifically.
Or you could even say insight, but
Insight is plus.
I mean either way that's a
That's
15.
a 15 though. Yeah.
This chicken is far older than you. This chicken has like grandpa energy.
I love that.
But they do mm, like I mean they're a spry old bird, but like they've been around the block a few times as well. Um, I think unless he like offers, what they'll do is like tuck it back into the shelf, sort of like sticking out a little bit so they can find it later, and sort of like give it a pat, like there, yes.
Uh, Fox is gonna let them do that because he, as much as he is like, he is proud of his work, even if it's not what he wants to be doing necessarily, and he finds it boring sometimes. That's, you know, it's something he made, and he always puts his all into everything, so he is proud of his work, but he doesn't want to read that particular thing. Uh, so he's gonna let them do that.
Valid.
Yeah, not a good time for him, but he just if you do get a chance, if it does come back to you, but don't worry about it if you don't. Has that been something you've always had?
They, um,
Mm-hmm.
they start to sign something, and then they stop, and they kind of, like, consider him, and, like, well, it's a long story. I imagine you do have a little bit of a right to know, but, it's a very long story.
Fox raises an eyebrow. I'm all one for
They just
stories.
shrug, like, it's oh boy. They they start to go, like, into the story, and then they stop, and they say, "Can we, like, go, like, stand out in the sunshine somewhere? This is going to get depressing."
Fo- Fox like takes a deep breath and just, oh, I thought you'd never ask. Of course.
Mm.
I feel like that would be much more appropriate for this subject. And he starts to walk, making sure that TOC's following. He's a little nervous for what he might have just gotten himself into.
TOC actually, like, they start to follow, and then they stop, and they're looking across the room. And it's the Toontown Public Library is a very old building, and there's a lot of rooms that have been repurposed over the years. And have you ever been in one of those basements that have, like, the bay doors that go up to the surface?
Yeah.
There's a set of those, with a very big ostentatious lock. And they're sort of looking between it and Mr. Fox. Like, first of all, they don't have to go by the creepy toadish librarian, uh, who always calls everyone, young man or young lady or young person. Um, and they can make it a heist.
And they can make it a heist. Best of both worlds. Fox
Mm.
is like immediately smug. He's like, you know me so well. We've only chatted so little, and you know me so well. Uh, and he just like, I don't think he even says anything. He just makes his way over and reaches into his hammer's face to pull out a lock picking set. That's a 3. Thank goodness we're not going to have the same issue as last time. And he pulls out a
Gosh.
lockpick set, and he gets to work. I don't actually know what to roll for that.
Yeah, TOC just sort of like stands guard. Let's see. I think it's
Lockpick.
no. There are rules for
Because it's the thieves'
lock picking
tools.
sets.
Dexterity with bonus if proficient with thieves' tools. All right. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he is a thief. That's literally his background. So I'm pretty sure he's proficient with thieves' tools. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a misspent youth. He might as well use it for something useful.
Yep. That's a dex, so. Nice. All right, 15. What is up with me and 15s? Like, I think I've gotten like at least 5 15s during this whole game.
I mean, it's better than like that one time that Babel got like 3 consecutive nat ones.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, I'm gonna say 15
Man.
probably gets it.
Yeah, like it's yeah.
Yeah.
They sneak successfully out of a public building.
Yay!
Like they get 15 feet and then like the freaking fire alarm goes off because that's what you do when you open doors you're not supposed to in a library.
Yeah. Children run out of the library screaming. They're just like, run, 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 run,
Yeah,
run.
TUC's just like
Just get out of here. Just book it. I actually think Fox just picks up TOC and just starts running. TOC will let him.
Yeah, I mean, actually, can I ask what his move speed is?
It's just 30 feet.
TOC has 40. They can go up to 20 feet faster than this Fox. Gosh.
Yeah, Fox is going. I mean, I feel like if it were me, if it were Chloe would be like, all right, act casual. But this is Fox. This is Fox. He's like, let's go. Let's get it. Let's get out of here. Go.
TOC's just like cackling in his ear over his shoulder. Like it's actually like for a chicken that doesn't speak, like it's an actual like laugh.
Aw.
Like it's sort of a low rolling, just slightly maniacal sort of chuckle. Very nice to hear.
Love that.
Mm.
I think Fox books it to like the nearest park.
Yeah, we smash cut it, and they're like chilling on one of the park bench.
Yeah. May I dare say, Fox has turned on his walk sonic, and there's some nice background music going on because that's what he likes to work with, and he can't have it on in a library, but he pecking well if he's out in a park that he can play music quietly.
Good.
Just some nice background music. A little country, but it's good. Instrumental.
Yeah. Yeah, TOC's all about those vibes.
Yeah.
And I think TOC after a long while signs it. Do you still want to hear about it, the unpleasantness? We can also, just I don't know, go sneak into a church, into like one of those bell towers. I've always wanted to go into one of those.
Fox, just, do you want to tell me?
They sigh, and they sign it. It has been impressed upon me that if I don't tell people things, it will come back to bite both me and also them. So, I hope that you are okay with hearing the story of how I died. After a beat, they add, I got better. Kind of.
I think Fox is just shocked into silence for a moment because, what? And he also, it's followed up by concern because now he's piecing together this whole thing of last time they met, there was this whole thing about foxes that he didn't really understand, but he kind of deduced that TUC might have had some trauma with regarding foxes in the past, and he knows if he wants to, he can kill a chicken in one bite. And now he's really worried, but also trying to be respectful and like stay calm and not show any of that. I'm actually gonna make a performance check to see how well he's hiding his emotions right now. Because he's internally screaming. That's a 10.
As he
Not
can.
particularly well. Not bad, but he's just obviously there's a lot going through his head at this very moment. I think he turns he pauses the walk Sonic and
I think TOC will actually like ask like do you need a minute?
Fox kind of takes a deep breath and um uh, I no I am I'm fine moving on if you are. It was just a bit of a unexpected um that is I was in shock, but I'm all right now. Are you sure you do not have to tell me? But if
Mm,
you are if you feel inclined, if it would make you feel better, I would be more than happy to listen.
they sort of slightly begrudgingly sign. No, it's um I the more I think about it, the more I feel that you ought to know. It's we cannot always, and they give you a significant look, hide what we're feeling. And I would rather you not have the wrong idea about some of my reactions that I may have. And they take a minute and then they start talking in almost like almost a ceremonious sort of storytelling way, like almost like they like it kind of reminds you of some of the styles of storytelling that you might have researched coming out of Furuma, like not precisely the same, but like stylistically a little bit similar. um and they start out the story. It began with a very cruel farmer. It began with a promise that would have cost him nothing to keep. This farmer kept chickens, you see, and he let his niece take care of the animals in exchange for wages. And the girl was very kind, and she was very attached to these chickens, to one chicken in particular, a little black one. Um, but the chickens were getting older, and what do you do with chickens that are old enough that they stop laying? And they sort of stop for a second and look up into the sunlight, and they look very tired. And they sign, you kill them for food. They become the soup. How's Mr. Fox doing with this intro?
Uh, yeah, Fox is just looking at TOC because that's what he did. That's I mean his whole thing was that he stole birds. He stole chickens and
Mm-hmm.
various, goods for for to keep his family alive. Um and he knows that all too well. And he's never thought about it from the chicken's perspective. He's never been able to understand what that might be like, and it's kind of opening up a new world for him. He's suddenly realizing that, oh, like, yeah, I was doing this for my family, but there's this whole, like, there's this whole second layer to what he was doing that he hasn't considered before now. And now his friend is the victim of that, possibly. And he's having an existential crisis internally. He's like, oh, here's my midlife crisis, here it comes. But I think he's mainly silent and just politely listening. He doesn't want to interrupt, but he is just staring at TOC, taking this all in.
TOC, TOC continues, so this little girl who was very attached to these chickens got from her uncle a promise that he would let them die of old age, that he would give them to her and she would look after them on her own, using her own funds, the wages that she got from him. But instead, the farmer waited until one day the girl was at school, and he took the farm hands back to the coop, who did not know about the promise, I don't think. And they took the chickens out one by one. And they took 5 of the chickens, my sisters, and he slaughtered them. But the 6th chicken was the meanest. There was no roosters, so that little hen was the protector. And they were far too fast for the farmhands or the farmer to get. And they managed to avoid them long enough that the girl came home and scooped them up and ran into the woods with them. And there she kept the chicken for as long as she could. She found a little stone hut, and she shored it up as best they could. And the chicken, or I should say, I stayed there for a long time. I couldn't tell you how long. I could only tell you that it is wet and lonely, which are 2 things that chickens are not supposed to be. And I grew weaker and weaker. And the forest is not a kind place for a chicken. There are many predators. And they sort of rub the shoulder that's giving them grief that day, sort of self-consciously. And they say, I fought them all off because that was what I was good at, until I could fight no more. A fox got in. A wild fox, not like a person. And I like to say that I won. I just also lost. But it died first, so I think I won.
Fox, like,
And
visibly gulps at that. Just, okay. Continue.
But this little chicken who had failed their sisters, failed to stop the farmers, failed in a way to stop the fox, had one more wish. Because with every visit the little girl took to them, they could see that she was getting sadder, that her family was failing her in some way, and they wanted to be enough to be her family. So they made one last wish, that they could be that family. And it was granted in a way. But it took, well, a while. A very, very long while. And when I woke up, I was me. and I was alone, and I could not find her. That was what I was looking for, by the way, when you found me. Um, I don't. I never learned my girl's name, but I was hoping that if I recognized one of the names in the register, it might give me a clue.
Um, Fox is silent for a beat, and then I am sorry, and if it means anything, I don't think you failed.
They look a little, sort of internally bitter at that. But they do sign. I mean, it's. I know my Fox is a part. It wasn't you. You don't have to apologize for anything. Um, it And then they stop and they look back at you and they sign, you don't have to apologize for anything. Because they are picking up on some stuff. This is a very insightful little chicken.
Mm-hmm. And I think with all the lead up, that's definitely valid. um, Fox nods and just right. If I may offer my assistance once again, I will do everything in my power to find your girl.
They lean over and like preen a little bit of fur, like just like sort of a friendly little gesture, a little
Oh,
point of contact.
oh.
Say, um, I'm very lucky these days to have family. Family I didn't have back then. It whatever you can do, but I am not alone in my search anymore.
I think he takes a single claw and gives TOC a little little stroke of feathers, very gently, in
Mm.
return, and just we're happy to help.
I will say that,
Mm-hmm.
mm, like just a small detail, Mr. Fox, like just between um his expertise, let's say, and just what he is, like he can definitely make out that underneath the feathers on their wing is a scar in a very familiar shape.
Uh, mm, yeah. Um, he 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 takes a second, and then he he gosh, I'm trying to think about what exactly he would do here. Um,
You're good. You're good.
I know I want to. It's like such an important moment. I need to make it good. Um, I think he just. I guess if I've learned anything, the past is what makes us who we are, but the future is who we choose to be.
Mm. TOC nods. Um, they uh, they're just sort of sitting there. That was a lot. Its
Yeah,
emotions are very tiring for this
emotions are
bird.
very. Yeah.
Um,
Um. I think he also just mutters, "Thank you for sharing."
Mm. They nod. Um, and they actually pause and they say, there's actually one more thing. It's the reason that I'm trying to be more forthcoming is that I figured out that the magic that's keeping me and not, just a regular chicken is a little bit more precarious than usual. And the person who's behind it is, of course, still around and still a bitch. Um, so just sort of be aware of that.
I love that I know the sign for that, so I'm just imagining it. It's great. Um, and Fox's ear twitches a little bit at that. And he goes, if you ever care to disclose who that may be, I will keep an eye out. Might be worth noting."
Oh, they just sort of like casually sign. Oh, well, they call themselves the Dead God. I know where they hang out. They're really harmless unless it's me. I think I'm the only thing around that they can really like touch. Being dead, but they are a little bit interesting. I don't recommend, starting a conversation. I don't really know how you would, but they just sort of shrug. Like, what can you do?
Fox nods to that, and I think
I like very much that, by the way, that Mr. Fox is just like, Dead God, yep.
yep.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, that doesn't faze him as much. He's still processing the past like 5 minutes. Yeah, I think at this point there's so much I mean, this is Toontown we're talking about. Um I think he's mainly like, well, noted. If I ever hear about a dead god, A, don't go near them, and B, if you do, like, beat the crap out of them for TOC, but also don't, because TOC is relying on them. He's like trying to figure out, like, okay, if I ever meet this person, there's gonna be some stuff that goes down. Maybe kidnap them,
God.
like all the
Now
heists
that's an
forming in his.
emptiness I want to see. My God. Actually, um can Mr. Fox roll a perception with advantage?
Yes, he can. Oh, thank Peck for advantage. Alright. Well, didn't do me that much
A
help, but it's a
14.
14. Yeah.
I think that with a 14, the most that he sees is TUC sort of scans the park, their gaze latches on to something, and for a second their gaze sort of sharpens into like a don't, like not towards Mr. Fox, but like
What they see.
sort of something off in the distance.
Mm.
And then they sort of ruffle themselves and like very pointedly look away from wherever that was.
He's going to look where that is? If
Oh
you want me
boy.
to roll again?
I mean,
Or just
suppose
he
he
doesn't
could.
see?
With, suppose, I mean, honestly, like they're tough to spot.
We could just say he doesn't see it. We have the power.
Well, it would be fun if he did.
I shall roll again then. That is a 9. He probably does not.
You know, pick Dice Sparcer. I'm gonna like because I just really like explain.
Valid. Rule override for the
It
story.
there is a figure leaning against a tree at the very opposite side of the park, and for a second it looks like a little girl with sort of a like a frilly frock dress, but made out of like leaves instead of lace, and like
Hmm.
you know, um, and then it's a TV headed tune, with suspenders and a little butterfly pin, clipped to his shirt, and then it looks like one of Mr. Fox's kids. It looks like one of his neighbors,
Ah,
and then the um whoever this character is stands up and walks behind a tree and is gone.
hmm. uh, I I think because he did see TOC's reaction, he's not going to bring it up because he doesn't want to. Also, because they just kind of disclosed a lot of personal information. Just want to be like, so who's that? But he has a gut feeling, and he's like taking serious note of it, and is also kind of spooked. Not gonna lie.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, I mean, TUC, just sort of like watches him go like, "Yeah, you better run," and then sort of like looks back at Mr. Fox like, "Sorry, I was distracted."
Fox pretends that he didn't see anything either. Just
Can I roll
what?
insight?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just sort of give him a commiserating pat, like, "Yep."
He just gives him a little bit of a concerned like nod, like, okay, yeah. And I think he just, well, if you have a free schedule, I suppose we could just sit here and enjoy the wind through the leaves.
I think TUC actually um they sort of like ruffle themselves so that they're sitting, comfortably on the bench, and they sign. Yeah, I'd be interesting to hear what other projects you're working on.
Fox smiles a little bit. He's you can actually, if you want to roll another insight, um I will
Mm-hmm.
tell you more because he's 16. Yeah.
So,
That'll give you it. He at first, I think when they were excited to read his column, he was a bit taken aback and shocked and just kind of overwhelmed. But now that he's found someone who's generally interested in his work, like, to his knowledge, no one reads his column. It's just him babbling about and trying to make good stuff while he's like, this is so boring. I want to be stealing stuff and doing something exciting with my life. So just sitting at this cussing typewriter. And he he smiles because someone's genuinely interested in what he does on a day-to-day basis, and it doesn't have to be all big heists and adventures and death-defying feats. It can just be writing about what kind of crops grow in the best type of soil, and that's okay. um
mm,
and so I think he smiles and he just, ah, not, I don't mind at all. If you don't mind me rambling about that a bit. And he leans back on the bench a little bit, and he's gonna turn on the walk sonic again. It's a little bit of background music, and I think he just begins to talk.
mm.
And
Gosh,
yeah.
TUC will like listen in. Like after a while, they pull out of their hammer space some knitting needles just so they have something to do with their wings. And they're a very active like listener. They will ask questions. They will be like, "Wait, is that true? Did you fact check that? Well, of course you did, but like, is that true?
And I think Fox grows more and more excited as he starts talking about his work, past and present, because he hasn't had anyone to tell about it really before, and he does, and he's realizing as he's sitting here, maybe it's not as bad as he was kind of making it out to be in his own head.
Mm.
And
Gosh.
I think that's where we leave them.
Mm.
Unless you have something
Gosh.
more to add.
I mean, like, I will just say that, like, at some point, like, probably, maybe a half hour into the conversation, TUC is just like, man, I wish that I could do that sort of job. Like I said, it comes and goes. It's difficult, but like, that must be so much fun. That must be so exciting.
Oh.
Like, just like, they think it's cool.
Oh,
But ye.
I love that. He loves that too. Yeah, I think it's afternoon, so it's getting to golden hour, and as the wind blows through the leaves, they sit there on this bench, and we pull back, and we see a fox and a hen sitting on a park bench. That no one would expect those two to get along so well, but there they are, and they're happy.
Yes.
Yes.
Gosh. This was a delight.
That was so
Oh my
fun.
goodness. Thank you
Oh,
for letting me ramble.
a ditto. We got a lot of lore in there. Oh, that was better
Man,
than I could have expected. It was perfect.
I thought we would do fantastically. All
Absolutely.
right. Thank you so much, Nuts and Bolts Gallery, for listening in. Thank you, readers into the future. We will see you next time.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Bye.